Jesse, what are we going to be talking about in this segment right now that we're moving into?
Oh man, how do we put this? What's gonna happen in this next year? Like 2021, like 2020 was, oh man,
Which
hindsight of 2020. I feel like we really just hit rock bottom and we learned, like, wasn't there a Back to the Future? Wasn't there a moment when they said, or they were joking about going into the future and they're like, don't go to 2020. Wow, how prophetic. Um, but I'm looking forward to 2021, but I don't know what's going to happen. Like, what is with board games?
Sure.
When are we going to be able to play board games and sit with each other and do that properly? I know some people are still doing that because they're just not being responsible. But
Well, some
and I'm
people
not
some
saying,
people some people
if
play
you're
with their
being
families
safe,
though, right?
there's ways to do it. Sorry, what?
Some people play with their families though, right? I mean, so
Yes.
you can be responsible and still play board games. You just have to be in a situation where that's okay. I know that there are friends of mine that have little ones that are in a COVID bubble where they have all basically signed an agreement that states that they are going to quarantine very, very strictly so that they can
Yeah.
all quarantine together and they can actually the only safe people to visit with, and which
Yes.
sounds great as long as nobody ever breaks that covenant. But
Right.
there are people that I've heard of that are doing that as well to be able to keep gaming with people.
I do. Like, I do have like another family that I trust. Like, they were basically quarantining before quarantining was needed.
There
Like,
you go.
yeah, like, stay at home mom, and like she like works. I mean, like, she's been homeschooling her kids
Right.
already.
Yeah.
And now with, my the husband, my friend, he's a game developer at Riot, and they work at home. So
Yeah.
so that
So
they'll
you're not
I'll hang
making
out
it.
with,
You're not
right?
making. Yeah. You're not making a mistake hanging out with them. They're making a mistake hanging out with you. Got it.
Well, yeah, the thing is, like, I have my kids, and I have, I'm divorced, and the kids go back and forth, and
Mm.
so there's a lot of trust that has to be, you know, I don't know everything that she's doing, and sometimes I do hear little things, and I have to just exercise patience and hope. Um,
Oh, interesting.
but
Yeah.
yeah, you got to be careful. And then there are occasionally like other like couples or families that we'll see. Like, for instance, what I mean is like Thanksgiving. We decided that we wanted to enjoy Thanksgiving, and I know this is like it's sort of dangerous. Like, but what we did was everyone got tested,
Mhm.
like the week before, and then swore that we're not going to
Yeah.
mix that up. And then we hung out, and we felt free to you know to don't have masks at that time. But we're pretty responsible. I
That's
don't really
great.
go anywhere.
As you know, Paul is in my immediate family, and yet Paul's wife Barrington and brother Greg both were in Indiana looking after my mother-in-law who had hip surgery, and flew back 4 days before Thanksgiving, which is right within that window. Right, they were driving and then
Yeah.
and then flying. So we decided that we were like, well, what are we going to do? So I put Paul and I had my immediate family indoors, and we put a little table out on my balcony, and Paul and Barrington and Greg had Thanksgiving dinner with us on the balcony. There was a screen door between us, and we ate there, they ate
Yeah.
there, and served the food. And we found a way to make it work without, but you have to make those. 2020, you always have to be thinking about this. You always have to be making a call, making a decision, figuring out how do we do this? Do we do this, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And we're trying to figure out like what is going to be the nature of board games. Like, what types of games are going to suffer because of this, or what's going to be viable. So
Mm.
I wanted to talk about this partly because I don't know if you know about this, but around a year ago, I was in the midst of developing a card game, a board game,
Mhm.
a social deduction game. And I was going for it. That's what I was doing. I really believe in this game. It's a heist game. It's a social deduction game for like 6 to 8 players. It's co-op competitive. Have I told you anything about this?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I know roughly, but please don't not tell
Okay,
people
I wasn't sure.
just because you're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
telling me. But no, yes, we've talked about this at length back, back when people hung out.
I really don't remember talking to you about it, but I think maybe I brought it up maybe one day. But yeah, so
It
essentially,
was you, me, Trey, and Paul, and we were talking, and you brought it up. I wouldn't say that I know
oh
tons about it, but from the conversation, I know what you're developing, and it sounded interesting to me. So tell
yeah,
everybody
well,
what it
okay,
is.
so but yeah, for people who don't for people who don't know, it's essentially like Reservoir Dogs. So you're a crew of these like ragtag criminals brought together to pay your debts back to this like violent crime boss. And the characters, instead of being like all like sort of suit and ties, like Reservoir Dogs, they're really colorful characters that are maybe something that would come out of a Joe Carnahan film, right? They're colorful, but they're somehow like still grounded in this heightened reality. Like I don't think you've seen any of the art, but
No, I haven't.
I really like that sort of like what I call like 2.5D characters that are you don't know much about them. Like Smoke and Aces, not the greatest movie in the world, but I love those characters.
Yeah,
And they're rich and but they're somehow still grounded in this weird like reality, which is so that it's grounded. It's interesting to me. But I had ideas for characters, and then I would create these mechanics around them. And then sometimes I found like a whole bunch of like images that fit like this sort of style that I wanted. And then some of them just gave me ideas, and I would create characters out of that. Okay, so essentially I say it's co-op competitive. So it's similar to Battlestar Galactica or Dead of Winter
sure.
in that your team has this like mutual goal, which is you have to complete these 5 heists or whatever this sort of scenario is, and that'll change maybe from game to game. But that's your collective goal, but you each have your secret goal, and you win if you've completed your secret goal when the sort of the game ends, when when your team has completed the 5 heists. But what I did differently is I don't have a red versus blue thing. Everyone's personal goal is very individual, and they're tied into the game mechanics. Okay, so there's a lot of like Venn diagram of like possibilities of who could win from game to game depending on what you're after. So for instance, like probably the hardest role would be an undercover cop, because he just basically wants everyone to lose. They'd either die or go to prison.
Right.
But then you also got like a serial killer who just needs to kill like a couple people, and then they need to solve their goal too. They got to get the 5 heists done. And then you've got like somebody who's greedy, and they just need to make more money than any other player. So you see somebody when somebody like that's in the mix, they're not trying to harm anybody, but if somebody ends up making more money than them, then they may need to kill that guy, right? And then there's a wrathful, and they need to make sure that half the crew doesn't succeed. Or then you might have somebody who's lustful, and they need to make sure that half the crew does succeed. So you see, like all of these,
Right.
depending on what roles you get, the games could vary. Like,
Which is a little less.
You may have.
Oh, sorry.
What's that?
It's a little less Battlestar Galactica, in which the secret role is simply I want Team A or Team B to win, and it is a little more Dead of Winter, in which almost everybody is trying to work together to survive. But I also, while I'm working to survive, I have to do this, and this is going to maybe make me look bad, because I'm going to not always do what is great for the group. I'm going to do some things that I got to do for myself, right?
Yes, but it's a different dynamic, because it's not red versus blue. It's not like, are you good or bad?
Yeah.
It's not Secret
Yeah.
Hitler. It's not Avalanche. It is what I was going for, and what I'm delighted actually works, is that people, you need to figure out what are they after, and like in what way could I piss them off that they'd want to kill me? And can they be an ally to me? Because that is how I imagine it would actually be if you're a criminal getting into bed with other criminals. It's like, look, we've got this goal. We got to do this, right? Like, we're all cool, right? And then you go out there and then something happens and it's like, what the hell was that? So the game is it does have some heist. It's sort of that's sort of what drives the game. But I didn't want to put too much energy on that. It's more about what happens when they get back to the warehouse and they're discussing what the hell happened there. Like, what did you guys do? So so anyway, I've been playtesting this like starting like in January, and it was going really well. Like it was, I was learning more. I was constantly iterating, and as you would, and it was just getting better and better, and people were really responding to it. And I was like, I really believe in this. And then the pandemic came.
Yep.
And and then that was that. Like I was basically, I mean, I went through a depression for like 2 weeks. I was like, this is what I was gonna do, man. Like,
right.
And thankfully, I took up video game like development and coding, and I learned so much. And I don't regret that. But now I'm at the point where I make a video game now. And then somebody a couple weeks ago came back. They came in the area and they wanted me to play test their game, and we decided we're all going to wear masks and we were going to like keep distance and do all that thing. And I know they hadn't seen anybody for like a week or so, and then they wanted to play test my game, and it went really well. Like I don't know, I got so jazzed up about it. And I was like, man, maybe I should adapt this. Like, but how could I ever do this? Like, I feel like, what are the options here? Do I just go ahead trying to make this board game, do a Kickstarter, and hope that it's viable? Like a social deduction game? Like, I feel like social deduction games are going to be harder. Games with over 4 people, like this is like 6 to 8 players that it wants to be, and I don't know if it would be even viable. Like, or do I create like the video game version of it, and where the heists are not like card based, but they're more like Project Winter. I know you don't play many video games, but like like even like Among Us is like
No, I do know those
and
games.
you have a certain game mechanic that's video game related, and maybe I just find that as a substitute. Or do I do sort of like develop it on Tabletop Simulator and keep playtesting it? But I don't know. Like I feel like this game, you want to look people in the eye. Like we were talking about with some of the certain games. This in particular, like I'm really into what makes a game immersive, and I really thought about that with this game. And people get in these great discussions, these great debates, and they're really actively not just are you good or bad, but what are you after, and how can I make sure that we can get through this alive together or not? Do I need to cut? But you need to look them in the eye. And so do I try to develop this where you've got the board and one monitor and then just hope that everyone is going to have 2 monitors like I do? I have 3 monitors, but not everyone has that,
Right.
Or do I have to create my own sort of proprietary whatever video conferencing system where it's like half the screen is the players and then the other half is the board. So I don't know.
Let's bring the question to the larger, because what the questions you're asking are very similar to the questions we're all asking about what is going to happen when the world goes back to normal, and how normal will the world be? We listen. We don't know, right? We don't know. We know that there are multiple vaccines that look very promising, that look to be coming out soon. We also know that in a lot of countries, the COVID infections are spiking. So bad things are happening and good things are happening at the same time. What is the pace at which these vaccines are going to be able to come out? Nobody knows for sure. I think my guess in the United States is that if you're planning something to happen before the summer, I wouldn't count on it. I would say I wouldn't plan anything for the summer either. I think that the start of normalcy, I think, is going to be farther off than a lot of people hope. That's my guess, but I don't know anything.
So no herd immunity in March?
I don't think that that's going to happen. But once again,
Yeah.
I feel like it something I need to say every day in 2020 is I am not a trained epidemiologist, so you should listen
Yeah.
to them and not me.
Exactly.
I wish more people said that.
Yeah.
But that said, you know, I think that 2021 is the year where things will eventually start to get back to normal. It may take a lot of 2021 to do that, though. But when it does, what are the things that we are going to want the most? Right? What are the things that we're going to be dying to do in the world? Sitting down and eating in a restaurant would be it would be an amazing thing, right?
Mhm.
Going to a
Yeah.
movie in a movie theater, if those exist,
Oh, wow.
if those
I
exist, how decadent would that be? Flying to a place for a vacation, and and going to a place where tourists are to see things would be amazing. But also in our hobby. So I'm going to ask question number one. Question number one is our hobby going to be permanently harmed by this? And there are two ways that could happen. One way is that we haven't played board games for so long that we've moved on to other pleasures. Way number two is has the migration of our hobby into a digital medium turned into something that is going to cannibalize the in-person board gaming business. What do you think
is
about?
it also
Yeah.
those are great questions, and those are the right questions. And also, I think, will it make games less players? Like, will it be
Mm.
more like couples, centric?
My
Stuff like that. Like, who knows? I think that it's going to survive, but I feel like a lot of we're going to hear a lot of the properties that developers were going to do as an in-person thing
mm.
became, a digital version. Even I think Among Us, apparently, or no, I think it was Project Winter, was supposed to be a board game, and then I don't know, that was pre-pandemic, I believe, when it came out. So I don't know, it wasn't because of that, but they just turned into a video game. But I think we're going to see more of that.
I think so. Yeah. Though that said, I haven't found too many games that I've played online that I'm like, oh yeah, I'd much rather play this online. It's still the majority of games that I'm playing online. I'm like, oh gosh, I wish I could just set this up on a table and sit across from friends and play. I still, and maybe I'm an outlier because I'm already an outlier in that I'm one of the rare people that plays board games but doesn't really play video games. So I may not be the right person to ask about this. But personally, when I'm sitting there playing these games on Tabletop Simulator, my overwhelming sensation is I can't wait until I can play this in real life.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I think that that's probably still a significant percentage of the population. So I'm not that worried about our hobby migrating into a digital realm. I think some games that are really well implemented in online versions, in mobile versions, I think should be there. Listen, Through the Ages and Twilight Struggle have done wonderful business in online mediums before the pandemic ever hit. There are some games that just really worked well in that medium, and they should have always been in that medium. And I don't think this changes that. But tons and tons of these games play better live, which is an interesting thing for your project, right? Because I think
Yeah.
what games are the ones that are the hardest to play online and the best to play in person? And to me, social deduction is that, right? You and I reviewed Blood on the Clock Tower,
Love the Clock Tower. Yeah.
you put together an amazing session of Blood on the Clock Tower where we got to play the game multiple times. It was incredible. That game is dead on the vine at the moment. I mean, I know that they're still doing things and still finding ways to do it, but the ideal expression of that game is with a group of people together in one place, and you set the mood, and you do you do it upright. That's what that game is designed to be. That's the way game plays the best. And I think
People are using more. They're using Discord, and I believe, and they're finding ways because that game, yes, you are sitting in a circle and you, again, like social deduction, you want to look people in the eye and talk to them, asking questions, and then you can go talk to them. You can take them in a corner and talk to them. So how do you allow them to do that? So you can, at least on Discord,
Hmm.
have channels,
Sure.
and people can create their own little rooms and go talk with each other. So that works. I believe a friend of mine, um, I think it was him who was listening to that podcast, and he reached out and he was telling me that these guys, I forgot to follow up with that. I mean, we talked about it, but we never
Mm.
manifested, during the pandemic. But that these guys have figured it out. Like, they think they have a good take on how to make it work. Um, Now, in my game, you do have to see a board. There's stuff happening. It's
Hmm.
not just people talking and video conferencing.
Right.
I mean, there is a bit of a board in the Blood the Clock Tower. It's pretty simple. That is a social deduction game, and mine is a hybrid. So um, I'm not sure how it would work in my case, but
Sure. Listen, I think my point is that there are games that that are board games, but they can be played online, and then there are games that the very design of the game is to look somebody in the face, right?
hmm
I think
yeah,
social deduction games are that. You can play them online. People are doing amazing creative things to get them playable online, but their truest, best expression of what they are and where they sing the most is in non-virtual real interaction. And I think your game seems to very much be in that mold. And I don't necessarily listen. I think that's a bad thing for 2020. I think it's not a good thing for most of 2021. But I do feel like when the hobby comes back, I gotta say, listen, Maddie's going to disagree. Alfred's probably going to disagree, but Avalon is one of the first things I want to play with people. I can't wait to get to lie to people's faces. I don't know. I'm a horrible person, but no, I love the interaction of a group of people that are hanging out and having this experience together. And while I'm dying to play Food Chain Magnate again, while I'm dying to play a whole bunch of other games, the thing that the games that I miss the most are the ones that are the most impossible to replicate in a digital medium, and I think that
yeah,
that genre is probably the highest in that regard.
yeah, yeah.
So,
It's a sad thing. I don't know. I wonder if people are going to like. I was just looking at like my TV there, and I wonder if people will start to. I don't know how long this pandemic. We're talking like the pandemic's going to be here forever, and who knows? I mean,
right,
I I don't know if we already have COVID 20 going. We haven't,
mm,
Is this just going to be a seasonal thing, like flu, or can we, herd immunity and get rid of it? But I don't know if this is to stay. People are going to innovate,
yeah,
and I wonder if one of the things people are going to do, they're going to sort of figure out how to, zoom right to their TV screen. Do they have a bigger screen? Make it more of a thing. Make it more readily available.
yeah,
Like like Amazon, like the Alexa show or whatever. You can just sort of uh, pop in on somebody. You can just say hi real quick. I mean, like you know what I mean? Like I don't know if you ever
yeah.
use that, but like if I'm driving, I can or whatever, I can like anywhere I can call Alex at home and like pop up on the screen. So I wonder if that's just going to be a thing.
Yeah.
It's going to be so much easier to be communicating with people on the fly.
I mean, the
I don't
Jetsons
know.
promised us that a long time ago, right? And little by little, it's been getting better and better and more. And now, telecommuting, there are more people telecommuting than ever have before. My
Yeah.
mother, my mother in Virginia, we Skype with her, and and Zoom and FaceTime with her all the time, and it's become second nature now, whereas it used to be this, oh, okay, so how do we do this thing again, and what do we do now it's second nature. So I do think that digital interconnectivity is here to stay, but I do also think that the fact that we're now forced to do that will create this will hopefully create this situation where once we open back up again, that we're going to appreciate the in-person connectivity more than we ever have before. In ways, my wife lived in Spain for quite a number of years, and when we go periodically to visit, I'm always envious of the culture there because there's somehow this unspoken thing that from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. or somewhere around there, everybody's out. Everybody is out in the streets, and they go into one bar and they eat a little tapa, and they drink a canya, they drink a little glass of beer or a little glass of wine, and they talk with people, and then they stroll for a while and walk into another one and see these other people, and there's just these amazing palpable sense of community that is sadly missing here in this country, except in very small isolated pockets. And I don't know. There's a chance. Maybe I'm just the Pollyanna here, but I think there's a chance that coming out of this, while we will be much better suited to connecting digitally, we're also going to be seeking out more connecting non-virtually. Connecting IRL, as it were, and I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for a resurgence of IRL in a more meaningful and more intentional way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And your game fits in, and that's. I'm just saying your game fits that. Right, your game is about that. Your game is hopefully what we're going to be wanting to do. So,
yeah, I don't know. Maybe they'll be craving it, or maybe people will just not have an appetite for that thing. They've gotten used to other things. They replaced it with something else. Who knows? I don't know. Hopefully, it won't be an issue. We'll just get past this. But I don't know. I will say that I as far as like not gaming as much or the quality of sitting across from each other, I do appreciate that I could just call, like I called, Ben the other day, and it was like, hey, let's hop. You want to play a game? Like, and then it was like, oh, who should we get? And and then like, now Trey's playing with us like half an hour later, and we're actually doing it, But
that is pretty great. There are some things that are much better.
We're planning to do it once a week.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I cut you off.
Yeah. Other than just we'll plan to do it once a week, and hopefully I'll see you there. But like now, we really just can hop in whenever, do it the last minute if you can't plan it. So I do appreciate that, but
I totally agree.
But I do like to see people's faces. Honestly, I would prefer if when we played board games digitally, if we all had video going, because I do like to see your guys' faces.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
People aren't interested.
No, I think that's fair. I think what you're doing is you're trying to find a way to get a little bit of what we've lost. Whereas I look at that and it's like, oh, dude, that's just methadone, right? I'm gonna wait for the real stuff to come in. Oh man, well, Jesse, listen, I hang in there. I look forward to checking out your game in real life, and it's coming. It's we all just have to continue as best as we can to make smart decisions until the time comes where we've found some amount of safety in this world again, and it's coming. So. Yeah. My words to everybody listening and everybody in my life is we're so close to good times again. Let's not blow it in the last 100 meters, right? Let's not fall down and get ourselves into a situation. I know it's fatiguing to keep these protocols in place, to keep doing these things that keep us away from some of the best things that we love. But it's more important now than ever, right?
Yeah, agreed.
Thanks, Jesse. That was a really good talk.
Hey, if you enjoyed that video, you very well might enjoy the other videos you now see being suggested to you on screen. Also, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could like, share, or subscribe to our Game Brain channel. Thanks so much.